who changed places with Xi Jinping? Name me one. Name me one.
You have all of our attention just by screaming anything.
That's good to know.
We want to give a little credit to the Daily Wire for putting that clip together that we opened with today. We're going to talk more of Biden's State of the Union later. But of course, we have to get to some things even before that. Welcome to this edition. We're going to be talking about the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Horrible thing for so many people. We're going to talk about the Grammys and how the cultural elites are trying to kill the culture. And a whole lot more. That is, if we have time for it. Welcome to the live stream. We're coming to you on a different day. It feels like Friday to us, but it's really a Wednesday. So if you're wondering what happened, well, I'll be in Israel starting this Friday. And so we're pushing up a lot of things, including our live stream and getting things taped for the weekend shows. You will have two brand new fresh shows the next two Saturday and Sundays here on TBN. But I just want to say thank you for joining us for this Wednesday edition of the live stream. Pam Case, senior producer for the Huckabee Show, is with me, as she is every live stream. I started to say every Friday, but you even show up on Wednesday.
I even show up in the middle of the week.
Good for you. That's faithfulness to the task. Hey, we hope you'll send questions in the chat. If you want more visibility, send it in a super chat. Moderators watching the chat for your questions will get them to us, and we'll answer as many as we can. One feature of our live stream, we always try to have a little pre-show poll. Pam, what have we got this week?
I love the question this week. Which one lies more, Governor? Used car salesman, rugs, or Joe Biden? Joe Biden with over 170 votes, 94%, followed by rugs, 4%, and used car salesman, 2%. That's pretty bad when you beat out a used car salesman.
Hey, you know, that speaks well of the used car salesman
Doesn't
in the
it,
world.
though?
If you're a used car salesman, we didn't put that together. We just are reporting what we found. But that's pretty sad for Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, at least he has a victory, but I'm not sure it was from last night. We always also try to pull in a quote from the week before, our favorite comment from the last live stream. And this one comes from Ben Bricker, and he said, quote, "I'm a fraud." That's all I want to hear from Joe Biden in the State of the Union speech. Well, sorry, Ben, he didn't say that, but he could have, because it certainly would have been applicable last night. Here is my question for you this week, and we hope you'll give us your answers in the chat section, the comments section that you see on your screen. Did you believe President Biden when he said he fixed the economy? Leave your answers in the chat or the comment section below, as we said, and we will compile those and share some of them with you. If you enjoy watching our live stream, do us a favor and hit the like button. As we try to do, we want to get to 1,500 likes before the end of the stream each time we are here, and it helps boost us with the YouTube algorithm, which means the video gets shown to more people. It's kind of crazy that you have to play these sort of social media games, but it's exactly what has to be done. So you are helpful if you push that like button. Please do. Have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't, do it right now. Like right now, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and that way we will know that you will know that we are on live on our live stream. We have a lot of stuff to cover. Let me begin first with some tragic news. There are already over 11,000 people who are reported dead in the horrific earthquakes that have happened in Turkey and Syria. This is just devastating footage that you're going to see on your screen, and it is just horrible as you see. These are videos of the earthquake happening, and then, of course, you'll see in the aftermath collapsed buildings, streets, cars that are just swallowed up by the earth. And think about the number of people. We still don't have a final number. It will be days, perhaps weeks. And of course, when there's an earthquake, you see fires. That breaks out because gas lines erupt, and one spark sets that off. They are also desperately working against the elements. Freezing temperatures mean that if they can't get to people within about 3 days, very few human beings can survive in the level of cold they have. They die of hypothermia if, in fact, the earthquake didn't kill them initially. So it is a just horrific situation. You see little babies, and there was one report that a baby was just freshly born, still connected to the umbilical cord, and was rescued and saved. You have to think God has his hand on that child. Don't know what that baby is going to be on this earth for, but it's got to be significant. This just grabs your heart when you see these images of what's happening in Turkey and Syria. And it's not enough it grabs your heart. If you want to help, I assure you that Samaritan's Purse is already on the way to Turkey with some of their planes, and they have large planes that have generators, medical supplies, volunteers who can do everything from rescue and salvage operations. So I'm a big believer in what Samaritan's Purse does. Not only the physical things they do to help people in the time of a crisis, but they do it in the name of Christ. It is a Christian organization that is unapologetically centered on providing immediate help, medical and otherwise, but also providing spiritual consolation and assistance to people. So give to SamaritansPurse.org. I know that right now they're going to need the assistance because they're going to be helping the people that you've just seen on the screen. I want to get to some of the big stories of the week. There's something that you probably did not actually watch. True confession, I didn't watch it. 12 million people for some reason did. Those are abysmal numbers for the Grammys. It was just, I think, a year ago that 20 million people watched it. It's continued to plummet in ratings. People just don't want to watch it. And you'd like to say to whoever puts these shows together, have you ever stopped and asked why people don't want to watch it? Well, let me give you just a little bit of an idea. There was one particular musical number. It's entitled Unholy. That's the name of the song. And it's performed by a transgender woman, means a biological male who is now identifying as a woman, and a guy by the name of Sam Smith. And it's all about this satanic ritual. Now, that's bad enough, and I think we have some footage that you can see, but I want you to see what CBS posted in a Twitter feed. CBS says, in the midst of all this, let's worship. Did you catch that? Let's worship. Now, if they were saying let's worship about Jesus, well, of course, they never would have said that because they never would have done something that was overtly Christian. But when they say let's worship, I want you to watch this little clip of what they were worshiping. Oh, we don't have the clip. Oh, never mind. I thought we did. It is, oh, I see. It's a licensing issue,
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's terrible. Go online yourself and look it up. And if it does not repulse you, you need to be in church and repent on something. It's just horrible. But Joy Reid, who is really a very angry person, not a very happy person at all. Of course, she's on MSNBC, and who could be happy if they were on that network? But she believes that people who are conservative and Christian, she thinks that we're the ones who have the problem. Let's watch.
I hadn't watched in years, but I actually really enjoyed it. Although I'm not sure everybody else did. It was, to put it mildly, a celebration of the very thing the American right has turned into its latest anti-wokeness boogeyman: diversity, equity, and inclusion. That despite the almost hysterical war the right is waging to take the culture back to the John Wayne era, they are not just losing. They literally cannot win. Cultural progression is relentless. Once people get a taste of modernity, they almost never go back willingly.
Joy Reid. I think maybe it's, who is it that, maybe it's Sean Hannity that calls her Joyless Reid. Perfect description of her, because she is not a happy person, and you can see it there. But she thinks that it's all of us who are conservative and Christian, that we're the bad people, because we want to take things back to the days of John Wayne. You know, Pam, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to go back to the days
Gracious, yes.
where we had real heroes.
Yes.
And people loved America, and we were unapologetic for such things. So
grew up with the Duke.
Guilty. Guilty as charged, Joy Reid. I'd rather be in the days of John Wayne than I had with the days of these cuckoos. who dress up like the devil and writhe around and are promoted to have us worship them. Not for me. Speaking of not for me, it used to be Disney was the safest place to put your kids in terms of entertainment. It is not that way anymore. This is the new Disney. This stuff is just amazing. Whoever is producing this content, they clearly hate America, and they think America is the most evil nation on earth. Listen when I tell you, please don't miss this. I'm not talking about some far left-wing kook outfit. This is what the Disney Corporation has become. And I want you to think about this next time you think about taking your kids or your grandkids to a Disney cartoon, a movie, or to Disney World or Disneyland. Think about it. Watch this.
Slaves built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build it. Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering.
And continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and
white supremacy
that America was founded with and still has not atoned for.
Slaves built this country.
So there you have it. Disney says that we ought to have reparations for people who were never slaves, paid for by people who were never slave owners. Now go figure that one out. I'm not sure how it is that somebody ought to get money for having never been a slave, never close to being a slave, and it's going to come out of the pockets of people who've never owned a slave and never thought about it, and even in their own history and ancestry. A lot of these people, my family, we never had slaves. Heck, we were barely slaves ourselves, if I go back and look at my history from the 1700s. I just find this bizarre, and that's what Disney has become. And they're screaming and yelling that we owe reparations to people who are the descendants of slaves. So let me just remind you, Disney is a multi-billion-dollar company. And you would think that if they believe that all of the profits that they have made through these years have been made based on the white supremacy that they now detest, why don't they empty their own pockets and bank account? And if they want to give reparations, they're free to do it. So I don't want to hear Disney trying to tell me that I'm somehow responsible for something that happened 200 years before I was born. I just get so frustrated with that.
Right there with you.
Totally. Well, okay. Does that make you mad too?
I'm a little ill. Yes, we are all a little frustrated.
Okay. I didn't want to think I'm the only crazy guy yelling at the television screen here.
No, I'm joining you.
Hey, speaking of a guy crazy who's yelling at the television screen, did you see the State of the Union last night?
I absolutely did last night.
You know, and all of our folks watching today certainly knew that we were going to clue you in on some of this. There were some African Americans who weren't demanding reparations. They watched the State of the Union. Boy, did they ever have a different reaction than the people producing this Disney content. Let's watch.
I would like to hear him say that any federal dollars that are being funneled into nonprofit organizations that are supposed to be helping my community, they don't get another dime until they can show measurable outcomes of effectiveness of what they're doing with our tax dollars. Not just me, there are thousands more of us, thousands more, and we're getting sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we demand accountability, or else Democrats are going to finally leave the plantation of the Democratic Party.
That's pretty powerful. We're going to leave the plantation of the Democrat Party because here is an African-American woman who is thinking for herself, and she says all these millions of dollars that these companies and corporations are giving to some of these so-called nonprofit organizations like Black Lives Matter, and it turns out that the leaders of those organizations have bought multi-million-dollar homes in several communities with those donations, and they get money from the government, they get it from all these woke corporations. What are they doing with it? Putting it in their pockets. And I just love the fact that she's calling them out in a way that would be hard for anybody else to do. Well, prior to the State of the Union, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked, what were we going to see in the President's State of the Union? Here was her response.
Well, as you know, the president is heavily, as I've said many times, heavily engaged in the writing process. When you hear the speech, you'll certainly hear there will be no question that this is a Joe Biden State of the Union speech.
If you try anything to raise the cost of producing jobs, I will veto it.
If you send anything to me, I'll veto it. Whatever that is, I don't know. I mean, it was a Joe Biden speech, without a doubt. There were several moments in which he just completely mumbled through something that wasn't a word. It was really, and it's one thing, you know, we all mumble and stumble. I do a lot of public speaking. I've been doing it for 50 years or more. And, you know, you have those moments, but you go back and you correct it so you don't leave the audience wondering what was mean, because otherwise they don't know. Yeah. I don't know that he's realizing that that's what he said. So, yeah, it was a real Joe Biden speech. This is when he tried to say that Republicans want to kill Medicare and Social Security, which, by the way, I don't know of any Republicans who want to do that. If they do, they don't represent me, because I've made it a very clear declaration for as long as I know that Social Security is not the government's money. That is your money. It came out of your paycheck. The government isn't giving you a Social Security check. The government is simply letting you have some. You'll never get it all back, but some of the money that you paid from the time you started being on somebody's payroll. I've been paying into Social Security since I was 14 years old. I'll never get back what I paid in. Most of us won't. But this idea that the Republicans want to take it away from you, where'd that come from? Well, Joe kind of got caught telling that story last night.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals.
I kind of loved it, and it ended up, I think it was going to be his big line to show Republicans want to kill Social Security and Medicare. And finally, he said, well, how many of you will stand to keep it? And they all stood up. I mean, it just destroyed that whole line. So if that was a big part of his speech, right, kind of messed up. It's sort of like
kind of backfired.
Totally. It's like the ultimate thing that lawyers learn: never ask a question in the courtroom that you don't already know the answer to. Because you're not asking a question to get information. You have the information. Yes. You're asking the question so that the jury gets the information that you already know. Joe should have done a little better checking on that one. He did not.
Yes.
While we're on State of the Union, two more clips. I can't help but mention that there was I think in my own personal view, a wonderful GOP response to the State of the Union delivered by that new Arkansas governor. I know her fairly well, and I'm about as objective about her as the New York Times is about Donald Trump, but I think she delivered a fantastic response, and this is just a little piece of it.
In the radical left's America, Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another on account of their race, but not to love one another or our great country.
Maybe the line of the night. I mean, the theme was built around the ideas of the whole notion that we're either going to live by common sense or what's stark raving crazy. And I thought, what a great way to put it. And this was her comment on the contrast between Joe Biden and herself.
At 40, I'm the youngest governor in the country. And at 80, he's the oldest president in American history. I'm the first woman to lead my state. and he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is.
I thought that was a powerful moment when she contrasted that there are people in the Democrat Party, including Joe Biden, that do not want to say, we know what a woman is.
Right.
And I think it's time we start pushing back with that kind of idiocy, and that's what she did. All right, let's go to some questions and comments that we're getting from our participants today.
Absolutely, and a lot of support for Governor Huckabee Sanders from last night. A couple of those I'd like to read to you because those were quick to come in. In fact, Cheryl Tupa says she's considering a move to Arkansas after your daughter's speech last night.
Wonderful.
Yeah. She said, Delinda House is saying, I just want to say Sarah was the light for the nation last night. And what an absolute truthful and beautiful patriotic speech she gave. God bless her and God bless America. So I thought that was very sweet.
Beautiful.
And one more, Jeffrey Bowers. Mr. Governor, you should be very proud of your daughter. She knocked it out of the park last night in her response to the State of the Union. So just a few comments. But yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you, Jeffrey. That's very kind. I love hearing those because obviously it matters to me and to her mother.
Absolutely. Michael Harper is asking this afternoon, Gov, what was worse, Pelosi tearing the speech up or the heckling Republicans?
They were both horrible. And I want to be very clear because I'm not going to defend the hecklers last night. It's one thing to applaud or even to react, but you should never heckle the president at the State of the Union. And let me tell you why. I know some of you say, he deserved it. It's respect for the office. And there's plenty of time to disagree and to do it loudly. That's America. But in that setting, there should be a level of decorum. The Democrats failed to exercise it when Trump was president. Remember the time when all the female legislators all went in wearing white to protest the pro-life position of President Trump? And then when Nancy Pelosi ceremoniously, with President Trump standing right in front of her, she took his speech and ripped it in half very publicly and made a big deal out of tearing his speech up. That level of disrespect, I felt, was disgusting. And I am not going to defend some of the people on the Republican side who last night screamed out and said, liar, while Joe Biden was speaking. I thought it was in very poor taste. Notice, though, Kevin McCarthy, to his credit, was giving them the hush sign and saying, shaking his head, no, shh, doing that, which I appreciated him trying to say to his caucus, I'm not supporting what you're doing out there. It's not appropriate. And it isn't. So feel free to disagree with me. You can join in the chat and tell me why you think it was fine for them to yell out. But I just think that let them be the ones who make spectacles of wearing the white dresses and outfits and promoting abortion and being the ones who tear up speeches on television right behind the president. But I don't think that's helpful at all.
All right, we're looking at a future nomination here. Jeffrey Bowers is saying, how about this? Huckabee and Huckabee Sanders 2028. That would be quite the combination.
I would love to see Huckabee Sanders on that ticket, but I'm not going to be. I've made my rounds through the process, and I think I'm, at this point, more than willing to observe it from the sidelines and cheer on the team that we put on the field.
All right, David Souther writing this afternoon, Governor, why did we just let the weather balloon cross the country before taking it down? If Trump had been in the office, they wouldn't have even thought of trying it. I miss being a country that had respect.
I just don't know how they can explain letting it drift all across the country over military installations and top secret locations where they could maybe spy electronically on our missile sites. I have no idea. Why didn't they shoot it down when it was over the Aleutian Islands, or even over the sparsely populated areas of Alaska or Montana? Montana has like 7 persons per square mile. So most places, even if they'd shot it down over Montana, it would have been in a very remote, isolated, non-human location. They could have known, we're going to shoot it over this place, and if there were any people within a few miles, evacuate them, because there wouldn't be very many to evacuate. They didn't do that. They waited till it drifts across Kentucky, goes across I guess, parts of Tennessee, and it gets to South Carolina, and then it goes to the Atlantic, and then they finally send an F-22 Raptor to pop the balloon. It's beyond inexplicable to me.
Well, I understand we have an image of that balloon with a special message on that. Are we going to show it? There it is.
Oh, Eric Swalwell, happy Valentine's Day from Fang Fang. You have to kind of know the backstory of that, about both Eric Swalwell and the relationship that he had with a Chinese spy named, well, let's see, her name was, what was her first name? Not Denise, but something Fang, and her nickname, what everyone called her, was Fang Fang. And so that's kind of cute. Okay.
All right, so you go. Harlow Hahn is asking, will they release the truth about the balloon or just lie?
They will lie. Just to be blunt, they will lie. They're never going to tell us exactly what that balloon was carrying, what kind of equipment it had. I promise you it was not a weather balloon. The Chinese don't give a rip about what kind of weather we're having in the U.S. They can watch the Weather Channel, for heaven's sake, if that's what they want to know.
So it seems that this topic is big. Jacqueline is asking, is there an educational requirement for the press secretary of the White House?
No, the person should certainly have some level of competence in the job. And when you hear Karine, you just wonder, how did she get this position? We used to kind of pick at Jen Psaki here on this live stream, and we'd call the Psaki bombs. And we did it because she was really good at just kind of creating a narrative. But I did respect the fact that she had one, that she could put a sentence together. And I didn't agree with what she was saying, and I thought a lot of stuff was nonsense. But she was professional at the podium, and she actually had an answer where the words fit together in a real sentence. Now, let me contrast that. This is Karine at the podium, and she's being asked a question. And if you can make out any answer within this, please get on the comment section and tell us what she said. Here it is.
Is it possible that this administration discovered at least 3 previous balloons that flew over the U.S. under the previous administration, but Trump officials didn't know it was happening?
Yeah, so look, I think that, and we have talked about this before, about how when the PRC government surveillance balloons transited the continental U.S. briefly, at least 3 times, as you just mentioned, during the president's prior administration, and once that we know of the beginning of this administration's, but never for this duration of time, as we know. This information was discovered prior to the administration left, but the intelligence community, as I said, is prepared to give briefings to key officials, but this is something. Sorry, post. But this is something that they were not aware of, as we've just laid out.
What did she say?
No clue.
What did she say? That was a minute long, and if there was any information in that minute, I could not detect it. It was the best kept secret beyond anything the CIA has kept under wraps, is what did she mean by what she said?
Agreed. All right, I know we're close on time. Let's squeeze this in. Rhythm Rhymes and Elsewhere said, don't you think it's hard not to react, talking about the Republicans at the State of the Union. We all know it's a fraud and Biden is lying. I tried to watch a recap and I cringed the whole time. So it's hard not to react.
I get that, and I agree. It is hard not to react. It would be hard to sit there and not want to scream out because you feel like, are you really playing us for chumps that we don't know that what you're saying is not true? That having been said, there's still a need for a decorum in that setting. There's a time and a place to yell at politicians. That, in my mind, is not that right place. So, hey, I want to hope that you will leave some more questions in the comment section even after we're off the air. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you've not already done it, because that helps us to be able to reach more people so that YouTube will up the reach of this live stream and our channel. That's very important to us. Hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when we're about to do another live stream.